Blender maniacs, it has come the time to animate a little character. We are going to call this character Cubey Man or Cube Girl, and we are going to make it from the default cube. Because you know what? This default cube gets a lot of deletion and no, not a lot of use. So we're going to use this cube right now. Let's go ahead. And first we're going to move it up on the axis. And as our first character, this can be a somewhat simple character, but still pretty fun. I'm going to GZ and bring this up to about right here. Now for this character, we're not even going to use bones, or what are called armatures, to animate, but we're just going to animate the actual objects themselves. Now you could see that if I rotate this right here, or scale it or grab it, it does it around what's called the origin point, which is this little center dot right here. You could see that that's the origin point, and that's from where all the transformations take place. Now, if we want this to rotate, like let's say on more of a neck pivot point, we can move this origin point there. Several ways to do that. If you go right here, you could go to Object Set Origin, and you could see you could set the origin to many different, like, for example, the 3D cursor or the geometry, etc. You can also right-click, which brings up the menu, and you can select Set Origin, but an easier way, just hit Tab. And when you're in edit mode, when you move something, it actually doesn't move the origin. So if we just hit G and Z and bring this up to about here, we could go into front view to make sure it's right there. Then when we go back into object mode, you could see that now it pivots from that origin point, and it looks more like a neck because it's now pivoting from there. Super cool. All right, let's go ahead and continue our little character here. We're here now. Add a body for that. We're just going to head shift, add in a cube GZ, bring the cube up, and then hit the ESC key to scale it down a little bit, and then easy Y and scale it down that way a little bit, and then hit GZ and bring it into the head right there. So now we got a head like so, and we got the body over. We want to scale the body down a little bit more so that when we rotate the head, the body doesn't go into the head like that. And obviously that's tilting has had way too much. We won't be tilting it that much, but we want it like that. So something like that to cubes like. So, all right, now for the arms. Quite simple, you guessed it. We're going to add in a cube. In fact, we could just select this cube. And to duplicate an object, all you have to do is hit Shift-D, and it will duplicate it. And then we could write. Click to leave it in the center, and hit GX to bring it out. Then go ahead and hit X to scale it on the X-axis, and we're going to give him little stubby arms XY scale it on the Y-axis. And then GX bring it in like so, and bring it down a little bit. All right, there we go. So now we have a little arm. And again, when we rotate the arm, we want it to rotate around the pivot point. So let's move that in edit mode GZ to bring the pivot point right there to the top of the shoulder, and then go back into object mode and GZ and bring it back up. So now when we rotate it, it rotates like that. All right, cool. Selecting the body, I'm going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. We want to make his body a little bit longer because right now his arm is going to be in the way of his feet. So I'm going to hit to bring that down a little bit. To there, and then for the other arm on the other side, unless you want a one-armed cube, man or girl, we're going to add in another arm. Shifty-X to copy it onto the other side, just like that. All right, sweet, it's coming along. Cube person, I guess we'll call it now. We just need adding some stubby little legs to follow, along with the stubbornness of the whole body. Selecting the cube, the body cube. We're going to hit Shift, bring it down, copy it, and then hits to scale it down SY to scale it on the Y-axis, and SX to scale it on the X-axis, then hit 1 on the numpad to go into front of you G. Let's just bring it to about here. And let's see how that looks. I'm going to scale it up a little bit. And go into front view. We want to make sure it doesn't go past this center Z axis line, the blue one. I'm going to hit SX. And again, make sure it doesn't go past it because again, we want him to have two legs like that. All right, once again, hitting 3 to go into a side view. We're going to have to go into edit mode. And right now, you could see that not everything is selected to select everything in that mode. You could hit the A key. Now the arc is very useful. Remember it and remember it well is to select everything, always to deselect everything in edit mode or in any mode really. So to select everything, I'll bring that puppy down to right there, go back into Object Mode tab GZ, and bring it back into his body. And now he has a leg to kick with, so I could kick your ass. All right, cool. I'm going to go and bring it up a little bit more like that, and we want to make sure that his leg could kick out and extend a little bit. So I'm going to grab the bottom face GZ and bring it down and make his leg a little bit longer, because we're going to make him kick something. All right, sweet. Then hit Shift X Capilla on the X-axis, and you can see that his leg is a little bit too long song, and it's like both of them SX, scale it on the X-axis ever so slightly, and then we can move both of them. You could also, when you hit GX, you could see this moves in big increments. You could hit GX and hold down Shift to move it in smaller increments. All right, sweet. Look at cube of person. Very cute. All right. Now that we got all of that set up, I don't want it to be so cubical, I guess. How ironic is that cube person cannot be so cubical. I want it to be kind of more rounded a little bit to do that. We could bevel our cube, select the head tab to go into edit mode, and we could hit Control B, and this will allow for us to bevel, and we could drag our mouse out a little bit and bevel the cube like so. Now you'll see when I left click, we get an option right here. Whenever you add an object or do something, you usually get an option right here. And this gives you some options to change what you just did with the bevel. Now this goes away as soon as you move or do anything else. So you could only use these options as soon as you do that action right here. We could increase the segments, which will increase the amount of cuts on the bevel. Let's go ahead and change that to 3 to make it a little smoother. And that hits have to go back in object mode, and you could see it's not as straight the lines. Let's do the same thing for all the other ones where it's like this one, A, to select everything, Control Bill, and go ahead and bevel it, and drag it out a little bit. You could see it's already set the number of cuts to 3, so we don't need to worry about that anymore. And what we could even do is select this arm shift, select all of these tab to go into edit mode, because you could actually go into edit mode of multiple objects A to select everything, and then hit Control B, and it will go ahead and bevel all of those for you just like that. How cool is that? And just like that, we've created our little cube person. So cute. Now, one last thing you can see that's kind of flat and sharp right here. That's because it's set to flat shading. If we select the head, for example, and right-click, you could see we have 2 shading modes. We have Shade Flat, which is what it's currently to set to. And this basically makes the shading, the lights and the shadows very sharp and very flat. Or we could select Shade Smooth, and you could see right away the shadows and everything have smoothed out, because the reason it's being so flat and straight right here is because the way the shadows and the light and everything is interacting with it, and it just looks sharp. So let's go ahead and select everything else. Another way to select things is left. Click and drag, and you could select things. How cool is that? I know. Very simple, but very useful. And then just go ahead and right. Click Shade Smooth, and we've just shaded smooth everything. All right. Let's say this little guy, because we don't want to lose him or her, because he is too cool right now. I'm going to go to the course. We're going to go to New Folder 7. First, animation modeling our character. Go ahead and create a new folder by hitting that plus icon, and we're going to name this character OneSavers. All right, great job, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next video chat for now of